What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with Rehab Part 12. Before I dive into that, I want to mention a couple things. First off, back to the Overwatch gameplay. We'll switch it up every now and then. It seemed like yesterday's gameplay got some pretty good feedback, so maybe we'll do that a little more often than I anticipate. And also, another thing real quick, hit me up on Twitter. I'm really trying to get 4K followers. I'm not that far off, so help me out, ladies and gentlemen. I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, drop a like if you guys enjoy. Without further ado, let's dive into it. So, Rehab Part 12. Now, in the last episode, we kind of covered more of Chad just going fucking apeshit. And in this one, things kind of close up with Luke in the sense that Luke gets discharged. But before that happens, it was the night before Luke discharged, and we were all sitting in our room, and I know I've touched on this in previous episodes, how our room was like mad spooky and very haunted. So we were all laying in our beds doing the classic telling our story thing, and we decide, fuck it, dude, let's try to talk to a ghost. So we all have radios. We all have these alarm clock radios on our nightstands in our rooms, and mine has the loudest white noise because it's like this old shitty radio. So I turn it all the way up, I crank that white noise, and we start like talking and trying to like communicate with the ghost, and like there's a slight change in static, and we all think it was the ghost saying something. So we're spooked at this point. We're thoroughly convinced this has to be a Scooby-Doo episode or some shit. Like, we are terrified, and we're sitting here, and the static changed like a couple more times. We're just asking questions, and I turned it off without us saying anything. And Zach's theory was that, you know, because I turned off the white noise without like saying goodbye or like closing the connection, so-called, you know, the ghost got very angry because we were all just seeing spooky shit the rest of the night and like feeling real spooked out. I remember Luke was laying in his bed and he was like, "It's really cold over here, guys. I'm fucking spooked." And then he said that he saw a silhouette in his doorway, and he just jumps out of bed. And I remember this. He leaps out of bed and turns his light on. He's like, "Fuck no, guys. Fuck this. I'm not turning the light off. We're sleeping with the lights on. Fuck no. This is stupid." So me, Zach, and Luke are up. Chad is knocked out because he just puts in his earplugs. He wasn't even awake for us talking to the ghost. It was me, Zach, and Luke. And you know, Chad was just knocked out. He was just asleep. Us three are awake, terrified, and the employees come in at night every 30 minutes to check on you and make sure that you're okay, that you're sleeping, that, you know, not any bad shit is happening in the room. And they kept coming in, and we were up later and later until it got to the point where it was like midnight, 12:30, and we were still up. And, you know, for that place, that was really late to be up because, you know, there's nothing to stay up late and do. Like, they force you to turn your lights off at 10:30. So, like, there's no point in being up past that. So what ended up happening was this employee named Bruce comes in. Now, Bruce is, you know, he's a scary motherfucker, but he's a cool motherfucker. And we explained the whole situation. He's like, "Why the hell are you guys still up?" And we explained. We're like, "Bruce, it's fucking haunted in here. We're going to die. A ghost wants to kill us. We try to talk to it. It talked back. It's very angry. We're going to die here." And he's like, "There's no ghost in here. I'll shine my flashlight around for a little bit." So he shines his flashlight around. We're thoroughly spooked. And he's like, "All right, you know, there's no ghost in here. You guys are just imagining things." So he walks back out. We're laying there. Once again, spooky shit. Comes back in 30 minutes later to do his next check. We're still up. We're still terrified. He's like, "All right, well, since you guys have been following the rules, why don't I take you down for a quick calf run?" So we're all hype as fuck. We're like, "Fuck yeah, this is the shit. We're going to smack on some food at like 12:30. I'm down." So we all go down to the cafeteria, me, Luke, and Zach. Chad was still knocked the fuck out. And we get to the cafeteria, and we anticipated to be there for like maybe 5 minutes. Like, we made some toast. We put some, you know, some jelly on the toast. We got some cups of milk, and we just kicked it at a table. And all of a sudden, Bruce just starts telling us his whole life story. And the majority of employees at this place are ex-drug addicts. So they have some pretty interesting shit. Like, there's a guy there who was a war vet, and he was like spec ops, and he has really bad PTSD. So like, if you sneak up behind him, he'll knock you the fuck out, like dead ass. He'll do it without even meaning to. Or like, there's another guy, you know, Bruce's story was nuts. He told us his whole life story, how like, you know, he was this biker dude and he lost custody of his kids because he was abusive, and like, you know, he would like beat women and do all this shitty stuff, and then he changed and he got sober, and like, he used to be an iron worker, and you know, he was part of the union that went on strike and all that. He had a crazy fucking story. Like, it was nuts. He was funny too, but it was nuts. But And he told us his story for like an hour and a half. We were all just sitting there like, holy shit. Like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, I need to get this guy on a fucking video. Like, holy shit. So then he takes us back to our room. We're tired as fuck at this point. We smacked on our toast. We had our milk. Fuck the ghost. We don't give a shit anymore. We all just lay down and knock the fuck out. You know, we're asleep. So next day comes by. It's Luke's discharge day. We all say goodbye. We're like, peace out. He gives us some of his stuff that he doesn't want to bring with. We have this tradition in our room where whenever someone leaves, we add an extra artifact. And the artifacts are given to the room senior and the room like co-senior, the room like secretary, which is what we call the person who'd been there the second longest, which was now me and Zach, and it had been for a while, because it wasn't who had been in the building the longest, it was who had been in that room in the longest. So Luke left, and he added this little SpongeBob loofah to our artifact collection. So now we just had a bunch of random shit. So, you know, Luke leaves, and we have an open room for the next couple days. It's just me, Zach, and Chad. And it's kind of weird because Chad's kind of a stickler, not really very fun to be with whatsoever. And yeah, I mean, he's just not a fun time to be around. This guy was just a stickler. But anyways, so a couple days go by, not shit happens. And then one day, this was maybe 3 days later, we just gotten out of the gym. I was in the shower, and I get out of the shower, I hop out, expecting, walk back to my cabinet, toss on some clothes, and go kick it in the lounge. And there's this guy standing in our room. Now, I had not been told we were getting a new roommate. I had not been told some guy was moving into our room ever, let alone this day. I had no clue this guy was coming. And I get out of the shower, and there's loud-ass country music playing, before I even open the door. I open the door, literal Texas cowboy in the flesh, the Lone Ranger, is standing in our room. This guy's got a denim jacket. He's got these green cowboy pants. They looked like cowboy pants, but they were like camo. They were really fucking weird pants. I don't know how to describe it. And he literally had cowboy boots, with the little spurs on the back and all, dead ass cowboy attire. And I get out and I'm just like, what the fuck? And first thing he says, he's got the thickest Texas accent I've ever heard. He's like, what's good, dude? he comes and shakes up to me, and I'm like, what's your name? And he's like, I'm Kevin. And I'm like, oh, all right. That's cool. But wait, did we use the name Kevin? I don't think we did. I think we used the name Kyle for the other guy that was a douchebag that nobody liked. Yeah. Kevin's an open name, so we're snagging it. So Kevin is our new roommate, and this guy turned out to be probably the most interesting and crazy motherfucker we'd ever had in this room. On first impression, he seemed like a real, just country guy. He seemed pretty normal, maybe liked, is his country music a little too loud all the time. Whenever this guy was in the room, country music was just banging, max volume, no exceptions. He would take his radio into the bathroom when he showered or took a shit to play country music. So he would just never go without country music. It was hilarious, to say the least. And Chad was also from Texas, but he wasn't a country boy. But like I've said in the past episodes, since Chad strives so hard for attention, he pretended he was to fit in with Kevin, which I'll get into later. It was really funny because Kevin realized it and called him out. But anyways, so Kevin moves in the room. I leave the room, and I go over to Zach, who's sitting in the lounge, and I'm like, yo, did you know we were getting a new roommate? And he's like, no, who is it? And I'm like, it's Kevin. And I assumed, he didn't know who he was, new guy. It turns out Kevin got transferred from the other male unit for violating rules. And I expected, he probably got in an argument or a fight or some shit. No biggie. And then I go back in the room, and I'm talking to him. I'm trying to get to know Kevin. And I'm like, so Kevin, where'd you come from? I heard you got transferred to the other unit. What happened? And he's like, oh, yeah, I had a bunch of drugs over there. There's hella drugs on that unit. He goes, in his cowboy voice, he's like, I had Xannies, Oxys, cocaine. And, I'm sitting here and I'm like, what the fuck? And I believe it because it turned out he actually had drugs in our room too. But that was later. That was in the long run. But he had all this shit. And at first I was a little skeptical. I was like, okay, this guy flexing on me right now, I don't know if I believe it. But after I heard his side of it and talking about all the drugs he had on the other unit, and that's why he got kicked out, and this was his last chance, I then went out to the lounge and talked to a couple people about it, and they were all like, yeah, I heard about that. There's a bunch of fucking drugs on the other unit. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh shit, this may have actually happened. What the fuck? So now we got this dude who's sneaking drugs in. I don't know how he's getting them in here, but he's getting them. In our room, we've got Chad, the wannabe cowboy, fit in with everyone, attention seeker, Zach, and myself. So our room's starting to get really interesting. And, you know, we came to learn very quickly that Kevin was a very angry person. He was very aggressive. Like, we'd all be sitting, laying in bed at night, like at 10 p.m., even the first night, and he would just be punching the wall as hard as he could and, like, slamming shit. Like, for no reason. He would just punch the fuck out of the wall, and we would all get yelled at for it, you know? The staff would come in, and they'd be like, keep it down in here, and we'd all be like, okay, because we're not going to snitch. We're not going to throw Kevin under the bus, but we felt like it, but we didn't. But, you know, they would always come in here and yell at us, and then we'd be like, yo, Kevin, just chill out, bro. Like, punch your pillow or some shit. Punch your bed. But, like, you know, you're going to wake other rooms up and get us in trouble. And he's like, oh, okay, I got you, man. And then, like, 30 seconds later, he'd be back to just swinging on the wall. Just no regrets. Full on boxing it. Like, this man, I saw his knuckles bleed from hitting the wall so hard. And it was a common occurrence. Like, this guy was just something else. So, and we're taking out his aggression on walls. We're starting to get to know him a little better. We're starting to think like, oh God, you know, what the fuck is up with this man, you know? And time goes by pretty normal besides that, like besides his anger. I mean, he acted a little like impulsively and irrationally sometimes. Like, he was a cool dude. He was nice to talk to. Sometimes he would flex a little bit. Like, he would just say things that none of us believed or didn't care to hear. Like, he'd always be like he told us, he was like, my first time having sex, it was a 3-way. And I was with my girlfriend. I was fucking her balls deep, and she was going, ah! And, like, I'm sitting here, like, he's literally making the motions and the sounds and everything. And I'm sitting here, and he's like, I fucked her so good. I fucked my girl so good. He was like, I got bad hoes. That's exactly how he would say it. He's like, I got bad hoes back in Texas. My girlfriend, I'm going to fuck her cousin. Like, literally, these are the things he would talk about. And I'm sitting here like, my God. Me and Zach are, like, we're in cubicles that don't face each other or see each other. We're like in the furthest away cubicles possible. We're diagonal from each other, but like we're just laughing to each other. Like, we just know, you know, like it's just, oh man, this guy was a fucking character. This guy was probably the most entertaining person we had in the room, just simply because like the shit he did. Yeah, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but he basically flipped the whole unit upside down. This guy was something else. I mean, I don't even know what to get into next without making this a 30-minute long video. So I'm just going to end it here and continue it tomorrow in the next episode. That's right, I'm dropping part 13 tomorrow as well. So don't worry, you guys will hear more of Kevin tomorrow. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Drop a like if you did. I will see you guys next time. Peace.